Okay, good afternoon everybody. My name's Phil Dean. I'm going to talk this afternoon for half an hour, no longer, I promise you that, on around creativity and technology. So kind of fairly unusual bedfellows, I think. So my background is creative. So I trained as a designer and I'm an ex-creative director. I ended up running a creative business, so I fundamentally understand how creativity works. I now work as part of an organisation called Communisis, as some of you may know Communisis. Historically more of a print-based organisation, but we've got a whole host of technology services that can really enhance the creative offering. So hopefully what I'll do today is give you a few insights into the kind of the thinking that we apply and we help our clients to think about when talking about technology, creativity, the use of data, the whole piece, and it's very exciting. So it'll be 30 minutes. So I want to talk about the new state of play in customer communication. So you'll all be aware of how things are moving rapidly into the digital space. Now print's evolving and I want to explore that and unpack that. I want to kind of touch on the changing customer journey. So how, as consumers and customers, our lives have changed fundamentally. That's never coming back. And the way technology offers us a deeper insight into customers. So how can we really get to understand what our customers think, how they think and how they feel and how they act? And how these insights can be used creatively to make marketing more effective. One of the things that I notice quite a lot working with a lot of agencies is the lack of knowledge and understanding about how the tech can really transform the comms and make it a much more effective piece. And I've got an example of some insight-driven DM that we did for a client last year, which kind of sums up all this stuff here. Okay, so we have this saying, digital is the new default. In actual fact, one of our clients, Barclays, they started using it too. So digital is this, it's not new anymore, it's normal. And for me, the challenge is how does print kind of fit into that world, and how can data fit into that world, and how can the whole piece work together? Because every client seems to be rushing headlong into digital. It's like, where we're going, digital. So it's like, well, hang on a minute, well, let's come back from that, let's think about the whole piece. But as I said, communication's changed. It fundamentally is never going to be as it was. So even 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, it's going to change, and 5 years down the line. So that's changed. And digital native lifestyles are the growing norm. I've got a 20-year-old son, and he's digital. That's all he knows. And that's going forward. That's exactly where we are. My dad's 75, and he's on the internet all the time. He's kind of buying stuff online. So the digital native lifestyles, this are just not going to. They are the norm. Customer behaviours are changing. How many times do we go into a showroom, look at a product, come away, buy it online? The entire way that customers are behaving is changing, and again, that's never going back. Instead of word of mouth, it's word of many mouths. We all go on TripAdvisor. We all go have a look at what that hotel's like, what that restaurant's like. We look on blogs. I mean, I'm a blogger, so kind of people come to me and say, where should we go to eat? What should we go and see? So word of many mouths influences the communication journey, and every channel is becoming direct in that sense. So personalised TV ads, personalised posters. It's not about the kind of the broad broadcast anymore. It's about direct. So how did consumers get smart? How did we get so smart? I think it's kind of interesting to sort of track how the whole piece has developed. So by the end of 2013, 81% of the UK households will have what? Any ideas? That's broadband. So 39% of the UK adults access the internet by smartphones, and that's growing, isn't it? That's getting massive. I thought it was interesting stat a couple of weeks ago that TV is the fastest growing channel for accessing the internet through smart TVs. Smart TVs next 5-10 years is going to completely revolutionise even these stats. So 33 million individual users in the UK. Any ideas? Facebook. It's Facebook. And what's sold? 3.8 million products this year. What type of device? Tablets. So again, tablets and TVs, massive story, mobile. So how has this changed marketing? Well, I think it's about speed. It's about getting closer to the customer. and it's about giving customers more choice. You know, we've no excuse now not to give customers choice. We expect choice. I expect choice. If a brand doesn't give me choice and doesn't target me effectively, I get really cheesed off because there's no excuse. If they've got information on me, then they should use it. I go to Majestic Wine Warehouse every week, every 2 weeks, and I'm really annoyed that they don't actively target me effectively. That they know I like Rioja, that they know, you know, my wife likes Rosa. There's no excuse. They take my data. They take my data and they use it, and they don't do anything with it. So brands have in my opinion, have just got to just get with it, because we all want it. Customers choose. The line's now a circle. There's no kind of linear start of a process, a kind of a marketing process, and it ends. It's circle, and it's multiple touch points, and it's fluid. We can't get away from that. And content is king, and everybody talks about that, but you know, the actual content that we develop as marketing people, as creative people, has got to work across multiple channels. So it's not about kind of creating just broad content, it's about creating relevant content. It's about making sure it's accurate and it's aimed at the right people. And there isn't a time or a place. I can't remember the last time I sat down and watched a TV show that was live. It's always on catch up. It's always on. You know, I choose as a consumer what I do and when I do it. We do quite a lot of online voting sites for AGM for big building societies. And interestingly, the time that the optimum time for the people to vote is something like 11:30 at night. So people have, you know, they're kind of choosing when to do things themselves, and that's about understanding what the consumer behaviours like. And that journey is changing. So yesterday it was simple, it was standardised and passive. You know, I mean, marketing folk was, oh yeah, well, the old days, fantastic. We knew where we were. We could put some stuff on telly, and it was cracking, and people would just go, and it would advertise in between the ad break on Coronation Street, and it'd be beautiful. Today it's informed, it's complex, it's divided. You know, it's not easy. It's not easy to track out how consumers are behaving. And tomorrow it's going to be even more like that. It's about precision and being personal and about one-to-one. And I kind of coined this phrase, this kind of exact marketing, which is just a bit of a marketing fluff, really. But it's an interesting idea that we want to sort of work around. So yesterday the consumer's gone from being a dark horse, you know, kept in the dark, being sold stuff, stuff's being pushed out to consumers. But you know, now they're the digital consumers. You know, they're kind of, it's quite nice, isn't it? So, you know, and tomorrow it's going to be multicoloured. You know, and I think that's what I personally find that quite exciting. I think a lot of brands find it quite scary, quite challenging. It's a bit like social media when it first landed. It's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So I personally find it really exciting that we can kind of have these multiple touch points with consumers. So what exactly is customer insight? I mean, lots of you ask 10 marketers and they'll probably tell you 10 different answers. But you know, in the context of this conversation, I think it's about data and understanding that will drive the insight. So using your customer data and using that understanding of the market and how they behave to drive insight, because insight-driven communications is absolutely where we need to be. There's no excuse to be doing door drops. You know, if Virgin Media send me another door drop, I'll scream, because we can't get Virgin Media. We haven't got cable. So why would they send it to me? They don't even. I even took time to phone them up and say, "Will you stop sending?" Yes, no problem, sir. Yes, no problem. They just send me just stuff. That's for me. That's just lazy. It's not about insight driven. So customer insight. So we had a bit of a sort of a kind of a fun exercise really. We looked at a guy, Jules Cope, age 24. So what do we know about Jules in what information do we have on Jules in say 2003? So in actual fact, we didn't have a great deal on Jules. I mean, this is kind of traditional DM stuff where you might have his address, you know where he lives. You might have his landline number if you're lucky, and you actually might have his socio-economic grouping from some kind of from software that you've got. So you know that where he lives in that particular house, he's reasonably affluent. That's probably about all you've got. And I think interesting, that's 2003. We've still seen an awful lot of marketing behaviour that's based on that. You know, sort of like black and white personalisation that just uses lots of assumptions. And I don't think it's good enough personally, because you know when he's aging well, by the way. So he's doing all right there, isn't he? But I think So what might we know about him in 2013? Well, we'll probably have his email address, or we'll probably have multiple email addresses for him. If he's anything like me, he'll have 2 or 3 or 4. We may even know his buying history, so we may even know what kind of sites he goes to. I mean, you look at what Amazon do in terms of retaining that kind of data. They know kind of what the sort of stuff he buys. We might know about the websites that he visits. We might have his contact preferences. We might even know his Facebook kind of details. So it's getting very complex. And actually, that whole piece around big data is the kind of the holy grail, I think, for a lot of marketers. It's kind of, well, can we get that? We have a whole data division, and they're kind of their mission is to try and join those 2 worlds together. And I think that's a really complex thought, actually, because I'm not really sure as a consumer I particularly like that idea, but nevertheless, that information's out there. So if you were to Google me personally, you'd find all my Twitter stuff, you'd get the Facebook stuff, you get all sorts of things. And if you marry that information up with some of the harder stuff, then it gets very interesting from a marketing perspective, but actually really hard to pull off. So what would it be like what might we know about Jules in 2020? We might have his aggregated social media profile. That's not possible just yet. We might have a single view of his multi-channel behaviour. Again, not that possible, but a lot of people moving towards that at the moment. We might have his near-field location, so we might be able to market to him depending on his devices. And as the technology changes, then of course our ability to talk to him in a very different way would change too. I think what's really interesting about this is there's then I think sometimes it can bamboozle marketing clients, because it's like, well, hang on a minute, there's just too much to consider. So I think for me, it's about zoning in on the stuff you can control and zoning in on stuff you do know about. So the value of customer data. So it's about unearthing the new potential. I've lost count of the number of clients we talk to about, and they don't really do anything with the data. They've got a ton of data that's sat there and they don't really do anything with it. I mean, I'm not a data guy, but I get reasonably excited when data can unearth insights that can help drive the creative, make the creative more specific, make the creative more interesting. So the proposition is based on insights derived from the data. So we know this is how customers are feeling, or this is what they're looking for. This will give brands a competitive edge. It's a very competitive market out there. Not everybody is doing things as good as they could be. It's about trying to regain control of that customer journey. I was at a social media conference a couple of months ago, and the brands are kind of really nervous about the kind of their brand being taken away from them, and kind of we own the brand. We own lots of brands in some context. We actually own the customer journeys, which is again frightening for a lot of brands. But it's about building ongoing brand experiences, and actually you can harness this new territory, I think, and build that into the brand experience. So how could we do that? So again, we use the insight and we use the technology. Okay, so the technology allows us to take the insight and apply it in a physical way. That will deliver a personal service, convenience and transparency. How nice would it be to get a piece of print that's actually relevant to you, and it's not a piece of junk, and it's actually got information on it that is useful in some shape or form. That will give you happier, more engaged customers. Back to my Virgin Media thing. I'm cheesed off with that, and I don't want people blanket mailing me. And it's about profitable marketing. It's not about doing 4 million of these. It's about doing 10,000 of these, but actually doing them in a really clever way in the print context. So from direct to exact. So there's a few things on there. I won't go through every one, but for me, if direct marketing at its worst is noise, then exact marketing is about a signal, is about a very specific signal that's going straight in. I see an awful lot of DM waste. This is about efficiency. This is about being more targeted, and it's not about the volume. It's about the quality. It's not about inertia. It's about agility. It's not about obligation. It's about opportunity. It's about dialogue, not broadcast. And it's about response and trust. It's interesting the kind of cynicism and trust piece. If a brand communicates to you in a really relevant and pertinent way, you trust them more. Inherently, it's a more responsive. Brand loyalty is the result of that. And we like to think that's a more profitable way to do business. So exact means one-to-one. It's about a consistent message. It's about doing that across all of the channels. It's about intelligent, dynamic and engaging comms. So, it's not about just kind of blasting it. It's about a blurring of the marketing customer service and product area. You know, so why would that be? You know, I think you can kind of almost take away that they're trying to sell me something that I'm not really interested in, because actually you're being really honest and you're selling them something they want. And it's about social marketing and purchasing. You know, it's about the real world. So why would we kind of change to all this? I mean, I think that's an interesting point. Why would marketers be even interested in this? It comes back, for me, it comes back to the trust piece. It comes back to brand as a friend, as a brand as a touch point, brands that you trust. Because exact marketing adds value for both the brand and the customer. I think that's the key to it. You know, so you know, as a marketer, you see the value in it. As a customer, we see the value in it. Benefits both sides. You know, it's a win-win, isn't it? It's from a brand, you know, get high response rates. To the customer, it's more relevant. It's less inconvenient. From the brand, it's improved ROI. The customer, it's easy for me. Simple customer journey. I get what's going on here. The brand, it delivers stronger brands, and it saves time, hassle, and risk. We're not messing around. It creates closer customer relationships and higher service standards, the service standards that we expect, and robust revenue pipelines, greater product satisfaction. So there's a really interesting kind of model there. So just to finish off, 5 steps to exact marketing. What should we be looking for? So it's all about the data. You know, you guys probably know that. I don't want to teach you how to suck eggs, but you know, it's about collating the customer data. It's about collecting the customer data. It's about just getting your hands on it and understanding what the hell to do with it. It's about personalised to capitalise. So I think in this space, in terms of exact marketing, think about how we can be more relevant. Think about how we can be more personalised, because actually that's going to give us a better return on investment. Start a conversation. Don't just broadcast. Get some dialogue going. Encourage that dialogue with your customers. Think about how you might be able to do that. You know, social media is not the only place you can start that conversation. So it's not just about social media. Try and add value at every touch point. Try and delight in that way, in the comms. You know, try and do the thing that happened to me about 3 weeks ago when I drive an Audi and I got the Audi magazine. If anybody drives an Audi, you get the Audi mag. And I got to the middle page, and there was a little postcard in there. And on this postcard, it just said, "Phil, we thought you might be interested in this article." Now, God knows how they'd done it. It was great. All it was a little postcard tucked in, and it was a little 2-colour thing, but it was tucked into a article on an RS5. Which fantastic car. If for those of you who know Audis. Now, all they'd done is they knew I drove a S5, and I might be interested in an RS5. Now, that's just simple, really super simple. We find the simplest stuff is the thing that pulls the most. Our most successful piece of print that came out of our print factory is just a letter. It's just a relevant letter that just arrives on somebody's doormat at the right time. It's a trigger mailing for Barclays, and it registers when you put more than £3,000 into a bank account. And all Barclays do is give us that data, and we then send them something really relevant, and they have a fantastic conversion. So it's not always about complexity, it's about value, and it's about relevance. And tell a consistent, compelling story. You know, it doesn't have to be all about tactics. It can be about tactics. It can be about brand building. It's about getting the joined up story, because I think, for me, that's what it's all about. The brands that tell a consistent story are the ones that are the most successful, I believe, at kind of in the Marcom space. And you do that, and you'll get a gold egg, I reckon. Cool. Thanks very much.